All right, just woke up and checking some positions. Picking up where we left off. I was looking at Tia and some other things last night. They didn't work out. I was watching Big Time again, and it was breaking down pretty good. I actually got in a little too early. I got in here thinking it was going to go for a double the way that it did over there, but it broke down further. Well, that actually might not be true. Hold on. 94. Yeah, actually, I got in over here. Time frame do I have this on? Okay, yeah. So I definitely got in here because I got in at like the under 71 break. I got in at 60. What's it here? 67022. So I got in like right in here, and I was thinking that that was going to be the same break that I ended up getting over there, but went back over 70s. What was that? 64. So anyway, what did we end up with? It was a little bit risky of a trade. I could have actually got buried and punished for that trade. I could this could have faded off pretty bad, but it looks like what do we have? We bought 12,000 or so we sold today. Let's just see. Let's pull that up. Sold today 9,308 at 72,504 for 13,979. Total is 9.5. So let's just do it without the fees because who cares? Fees are fees. That's their business, not ours. All we care about is what we're left with, right? For our position, for our little Chronicle entries. So 13,958.98 is what I got back on 12,960.01. And that was after that fees. TS said, let's just do it without fees. Like, there's more fees, but this is what we actually made. So we made $998.97. That's not that great. And the spread that we took was 67 cents up to 72. And it actually dipped all the way down to 58. Like that actually could have snapped off while I was sleeping, and I could have woke up and been buried alive. It was a pretty nice bounce. It actually bounced pretty high. I got to like 70 6. Let's just roll this over. So pick 76.15. So there's some more meat on the bone both directions. We could have got in lower, got out higher. But I think the trade was fine. Made $1,000, whatever. So while I was asleep, I just woke up. And the percentage of return gains on that is about 12,960. So we made 7.7%. Like nothing amazing. But if it was a bigger position, it'd be real nice. So it was like a $100,000 position. So we're just slowly working our way up to getting into the big times of our actual account. I think I don't normally do this, but let's just see where the account's at right now. So right now, this is what I'm working with. I got 13,972 soldiers to redeploy. My team is like bullets, soldiers, whatever. I try to mind my soldiers. I don't try to sacrifice them to stupid trades or shoot randomly at shitty trades. That's why I didn't take TIA last night. Let's just see where TIA went. And then also in portfolio. So we just crested over 50,000. So a lot of that has to do with I have positions like long range positions. Jasmine's a long range position. ENJ is not a long range position, but I did get trapped a little bit underwater there. STX was something else. Grid, Doge is something long range. All this other stuff is long range stuff. SEI I was going to go back into last night and I didn't. I do have an average entry still on that one we talked about from a couple videos ago of like 29 whatever. Because I sold the other one off, that average entry is wrong. That entry is its own entry, which is like 29.17. It's a little buried. Anyway, the account's finally over 50, and I'm gonna try to get it to 100. 100 if I can before the run starts, and that'll be in the BTC halving in April. That'll be pretty good. If Jasmine goes back up to like 2 or 3 cents, I'll be there because I hold a significant amount of that. And then Doge is set to sell pretty soon, and along with a few other things. So most of the stuff is just day trading momentum. Some stuff's being held. So let's go back and let's actually hunt for what are we going to go after. So how's this chart looking on big time? Let's go ahead and pop this over here. Excuse me, I have a cold too. All right, so how's this looking? Is there another entry there for us? So if we got in at the low of 57 cents, a 10% move is 5.7 cents on $13,000. That would give us another 1,300 gain. Not terrible, not great. Is the risk reward looking good though? Let's go ahead and look at this chart a little bigger. before we go scan it for anything else, because this is what we're after. See, that's a pretty scary downside to me. It is in still, it's in price discovery. Like, no one knows where it's going to go. Like I said, it was going to go to $1, and it did. I could have took the ride, but to me, the risk reward was terrible at any given point along the way. It could have failed at 25 cents. It could have failed at, 37 cents at the high. Like, this didn't have to go this way. This could have went exactly the other way. But it listed on BitThumb, and there was a lot of interest. The game's pretty good, and it just kept riding. $1, though, was nasty, nasty distribution. So now that I've seen that nasty distribution, unless I see like a good like stopping point, a good little bounce where I can catch, 2 to 10%, like I'm okay with catching 2 to 10%. Making $200, $300, $400 here and there on a quick gain in and out, that works for me. I'm not against it. What I am against, though, is that if I can only gain $200 or $300 to the upside, and the downside of trapping me is, several thousand, I'm not interested in that. I don't want my soldiers caught behind enemy lines, right? Not for me personally. That's just not what I'm after. I want to correctly deploy the best that I can on this portion of the account, because this portion of the account is for trading. The other stuff's for holding. So right there, 38,696. That's the switch over right there. I'm gonna drop a little line on there. So to me, that's logically where it ends up. And that, lo and behold, is actually the top of the cup before the cup and handle swung out. We'll go take a look at that. Pop out to the 6 hour. As you can see, that was like the old high area right there where it listed. I guess maybe it went just a little bit lower. 34, 35, 36, 37, whatever. But that was the above. That's where it took off from. This is everything above the cup and handle, right? That's the completion of that. To me, logically, it comes back down. It probably tests 38, maybe even goes a little lower. Could maybe even test into there, the 25, 22 zone. That's very logical. But there's a very good case for it finding support anywhere around here and going to 120. 120 to, I think I had 120 to 140 pretty easy, possibly up into the twos. I don't know if it'd be a straight shot again like that, but it's possible. There's not a lot of supply. When I looked at the supply, and I added up all the math when it was at like 38 cents, it was only going to take $1 million to clear the overhead from 38 cents to 99. And I looked at all that and I thought, that's probably going to $1. I should take that trade. And my main thought were how many people are not actually sitting there on the board? They're on the sideline waiting to take gains. There were none, man. It just went all the way up on pretty much low volume. Now there's a lot of people that have bought on the way up, all the way up, that have gains to take. $99, that's a pretty logical place, because people are like, is it going to break $1? As soon as it doesn't break $1, because it went to 99.5, that tells people, I probably got to take my gains. The people that are pretty greedy, or maybe just got in late, like in this big push that we're buying everything up, they're only a little underwater. They haven't decided to start selling off yet. If it rallies here and holds, it'll break $1 next time, and it'll go to like 120. And most of those people that had it at $1, they'll sell. They'll get out. The people that don't get out and it maybe tries to retest $1 and fails to break over again, it'll crack through the support. It'll crack through the support. And then all those people will start to sell, because people that paid $1 aren't going to want to hold at 50 cents. It's just, they're in a lot of pain right there. So to me, there's still a lot of meat on this bone. There's so many trades to take. There's the completion of the frying pan bottom. There's the breakover of $1. There's the bounce and the retest. Like, there's just so much here that if I'm not at work and I'm on the chart, I just come look and see what's been developing. Right now, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 candles of 6 hours apiece, pretty much all holding that bottom right there of 56 cents. 56 cents comes down again, a hold starts to bounce. I will take that trade of probably the 50 area back up to possibly 75. That's a good trade. Good risk reward on that. Not too terrible. Let's look at the dailies. So you have, two candles and one forming now, getting ready to possibly hold on. If those 6 hour candles don't hold, the next logical spot, really is right, probably 50 cents right there, 48, maybe down to 38. There's not a lot there to really hold it up. So we're going to pass on this because there's too much risk reward. I can't get trapped, right? Because who knows how long it'll be before it comes back around. We want to day trade this. TIA, good thing we skipped. Like, look at that. Absolutely trashed. We were looking at a 1045 entry. I do believe I had marked it. It's so far up, it's probably not even, yep, there it is, 1045. So we looked at 1045, and I felt pretty confident in 1045 at the time until the chart started developing. As the chart started developing, this is what I was looking at. I was looking at it coming down, bouncing, catching it, and catching it for a 12 bounce. Same thing I'm talking about over there on Big Time. if a support doesn't hold, it doesn't get the next spring. It gets to lower. And then resistance becomes support. Support becomes resistance. It failed. So when it came back up, boop, rejection. Tried to get over, and then it rejected again. That's pretty bad because it couldn't get any more. Well, it's on its way down. I had thrown in a 906 sell while I was just watching charts and looking at things. Because if it got down to 906, I was okay with getting 20, 30, 40, 50 cents a bounce is what I felt was appropriate off that level. And then I pulled that and went ahead and bought big time and went to sleep. And that worked out pretty good. Had we bought this at 1045 and tried to make an 11, whatever sell, we'd be trapped underwater by significant, almost $1. Had we had a 906 sell put in, we still wouldn't, or a buy, we still wouldn't even be filled. So pretty good. We skipped on TIA. It's an experimental. It's on here. It has a lot of potential, but I can't quite sync up to its order flow and to its price movements based on like my work and my sleep patterns. So right now, TIA is a great thing, but not for me. So let's go ahead and sort off my watch list. Polls. We looked at polls too. I think polls was at 6 or so, and then then it ramped like crazy while I was looking at it. While I was deciding was it worth it, and it rechecked, and I thought, oh man, that's too bad. I could have really did good on that one because it's going for a retest again up here. Polls, I don't know. It doesn't sync up with my schedule either. It happens to do something that is just on some other time frame. It's on Asian time frame. I don't know, but it's not on American time frame. Let's go ahead and look at what else. So polls is the big winner. Might still, there might be some trade on since I'm up. PRQ is on the revisit. Jasmine is on the breakout because its average is 0.05 to 0.04. So it's about 20 to 50% above its normal. Silo's back on our radar. Volume is not good. Percentages there. Silo had, I think, an overhead of 0.005. So now it's had time to rest. Yeah, almost 5. 44. Daily candles. See, the downside, though, is so wicked. If for whatever reason people are like, I've had enough of this, just let me go. It goes down to 25. It goes down to, 2,000, maybe all the way back to the first expansion. And that's 1419. That's low. This looks like it's going to go to 5. And I said that before, but, that's several days it's been accumulated in this box. No expansion. Expansion here, expansion, retraction, a little bit of expansion, retraction, expansion. I'm looking for a move like this, probably. Right? Expansion, retraction, consolidation. Getting tight, right? But that indecision could be tight to a let go or tight to a spring. If it's tight to a spring, we're going to look for 5,000. I'm going to drop something up there. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a test between there. And if I could get in at 29.6, looking good. I'd try for that. I'd also look at an exit around 43.50 just for a failure. So let's go further back and see where is the logicals. Ooh, does it have the potential to run overhead? Yes, it does. So we're on a 1, let's see, we're on a 1, 2, 3 pretty much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably logical really is, 44. There's a good line up there. I'm going to go and mark that off. I would probably take a rejection trade to there. So if we could get a third spring, 1, pull back, 2, pull back, 3. I'd probably get out at 44.21 or the underside. I'd probably even set it maybe, depends how low I get in. If I get in on this one, if it, gets me like a 3,000 fill, I'd try the underside of 4. I don't even care about the extra. That's a good trade. It's 25%. So let's move on. What else? Silo's on our deck. Coming back around. It's setting up after it's resting. What else is in our pocket? Spell's been doing all right. It's got a lot of upside to it. It's sub penny. Volume's not good. That came in recently. So E&J, we're a little bit under. I think we have a 37 fill on E&J. Let's go take a look. E&J started to break out and then calm down the market. See, like right there. So it's had some. Oh, it did get pretty high. Ooh, actually, it was decent last night. I could have got out of the other crappy trade. Oh, yep. So it cup and handled up to 42, 42.3. Where are we at? So we're in at 36.9. Yeah, we could have got out at 42. Yeah, I think our old sell was what, 41.8? Yep, 41.8. That would have got filled. That's too bad. That was what I did when I go to sleep. I just throw something a little higher. I think it's going to break out. This still looks really good, though, if you look at it. It's coming through the cup and handle. It made a little higher high. Boop. It's got a chance to go 44, something like that. Let's look at the bigger chart, though. Bigger chart will take longer to fill, but I don't need the $2,000 back, really. Yeah, so the high is 56. One, two. It's a lot of volume down there coming in. Probably 49.4 is probably realistic. I have a 53 set. I probably have to bring that down if I want to sell it anytime soon. Okay, and that's logical. It's definitely going to go up there eventually. That's the old support and resistance. It just pretty much stopped the entire run. Like everything that it did trying to get back over that was just rejection, rejection, rejection. And then it couldn't even make the higher lows. So this is our next spot right in there. 58.1. Kind of followed by 50. That's logical because it's a whole number. All right, so those are our spots. If it had a ton of momentum, it'd break through 1 overhead res, 2 overhead reses, 3 overhead reses. Then we get all excited and hold. This is why I don't do that. And then here's the next one. That's the next spot to shoot for. So 117. Will it go to 117? Yeah, eventually it will. Before then, though, it might come all the way back down to right here. This is pretty logical, too. It's good support down below. 27.2. There's another one right there at 23.5. Which you might be like, oh, 27 and 23 is not that big a deal. It's a big deal if you have, $100,000 or $15,000 invested at 23 cents and then it goes to 27. That's a huge move. Because when it's, that is, see, it's at 23 to 4 to 5, 26, 27. That's a 4-cent move on that. That's significant. It's quite a bit of money. So it's good to know those lowers. You don't want to get in too much higher than you need to or overstay your trade. Like if it hits here and you've got good gains and it might go there versus come all the way back down, like get out. Take your gains. Don't overstay your welcome. Just like at parties. Leave at 9. People got work in the morning. Don't overstay your welcome. All right, so overstaying our welcome here on E and J. Possibly we could probably get back in at 27 for a really good fill because that's a consolidation, and it's been popping over and making higher high, higher high, higher high, higher high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Higher low, higher low, higher low. Sorry, I just woke up. I'm sick. Anyway, higher high, higher high, higher high, higher high. Higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. So we're on track right now. It's just consolidating down, and it's either going to fail, and it's going to be miserable if it fails, or it's going to go up to 50. I only have $2,000 in it, so whatever. But this is potential to reload the 13 if I felt like it was ready to spring off the next day or two, and that was going to be the extent of the trade. I'd throw the money in there. So E and J is potential. Let's see what else we got. So far E and J is potential. It usually has so volume. The volume's not fantastic. I'm looking for something over a million to 3 million. I don't want to get trapped in some craziness. Speaking of getting trapped in crazy, let's go back and look at math. Math ended up doing, what did it end up doing? See, it's still running around with 44,000 volume. It's garbage. It got back up to exactly where I was trying to get in at like 10.48. And it's done a whole lot of nothing. My money would have been sitting around dead. I only made $1,000 in the money having it in my care, but at least it didn't get trapped, buried, or sit around trying to be the entire 25% of the entire day's volume. Like, that's bullshit. That's why we want more volume, because we don't want to come in with a $15,000, $20,000 trade and be like, oh, we're half of the entire 24-hour volume. Like, that's ridiculous. You'll never get out. That's even kind of sketchy at around, $1 million. If you're trading that and if you're 5% of the daily volume, like, that's rough. You're 5% in, 5% out. You're really affecting sales. You got to sit around for a long time. So we don't want to do that. So look for something with some volume, big time. Rare was doing really well. There might be a spot for a rare bounce. Ooh, there is a spot for a rare bounce, isn't there? Look at that. Back to the point of takeoff. That is possible at... Let's pick the midway point and we'll drop time frames. What do we got here? Yeah, I guess 12 is... That's probably what it's looking like that for. Okay, so I'm interested potentially in a 12 bounce because it's already taken a lot off. The volume's ascending on those, so it's starting to wear out. There's probably a bounce from 12 to 14 potentially. Come back up to the top of that range. Let's go see what else is in this guy's future for rare. All the minting platforms went pretty good. Oh, what do you know? There it went. It went what? Right up to the top of all those other ones. So let's just drop one there. So it followed the logical path. Followed the logical path of those lows, those retests, and that fail. It failed to break out again. So obviously when that happens, there's people interested in selling. So you have to take it back down to shake the sellers out. So you can make another run at taking out an overhead resistance and then making it support. So right now, the next logical support is about where we dropped it. Let's see, what else is there? That's a pretty logical support at 10.9. And that's a 20% swing between those two, between 10 and 12. There is, oh, that's the floor right there. So that's the very last spot that it went before it tried to reclaim. And then that's it. Done. Just faded off. Fade, fade, fade. Not even, I mean, there was just nothing. There was none of that right there like it tried here. That's it. It sub-faded. And then it took, June, July, August, September, October. It took 4 months to accumulate and find a bottom. There's our bottom at 0511 more or less. So between 0511 and probably right there, actually, it's a little more realistic. 08, what is this? 08 area. Zoom in a little bit, get a little more accurate, a little more granular. So somewhere in there, this is about right. Probably 8 is right. That's an overshoot. Let's go ahead and move this down. Move that down to, actually even there, I think 780 is more realistic. 775. So between 5, what is the absolute low there? Let's see. 0510. Okay, so we're pretty close. 0510. So between 5 and 775. That's the accumulation zone. It has more than doubled from 775 to 14 plus, so it's on overshoot. Came back testing. Yeah, I think it's got a good shot. Any of those pivots to play between two, like if it breaks back down to the breakout point of that entire rally at 775, I'd be interested. I'm interested at 5 back to 7. I'm interested at a bounce play from 12 to possibly 15. I think 12 to 15. So I'd be willing to take a 12 to 15. That's 3 cents on 12. What is that? 20, 25%, something like that. That's good money. Like I said, I'm interested anywhere between 2 and 10% gains as the volume goes up. Obviously, if you have a $200 account, like that's not going to be very exciting to make $20, but to make $1,000, $2,000 here and there, that's decent pay for the day. So we'll keep this in mind. Those are our setups on rare, and it may just totally fade off and be done. Because look at the volume. That's there's nothing here forever. It just faded off. There was one attempt here. Even the fade off wasn't very high volume. This is high volume. So I'm interested very much so in what these people do that bought all this. Do they hold it? Do they hold it all the way down to 5? Like, what do they do? And I'll see that in the tape as it comes by. And the volume is garbage, just 1 million. So it's backed off where the volume on this day was $48 million. 48 million versus 1. You're at 1/48th the volume that it took to break it out. If it's dried up and there's no more volume, there's no more selling, people are done, like that's it, then we got a good chance of a decent bounce play because of a minimal pick back up. So there's a potential 20% trade there. Just have to be awakened at the right time watching. All right, so let's get off our watch list. Let's just go into the overall thing. Anything starred on the watch list, anything not starred is not and potentially could be put on the watch list. HNT's been running for a few days here and there. I looked at it a couple times. I don't know what HNT is really. I never looked at it too much, so I didn't really get into it, but let's take a look at it. I know what AMP is. I know what Ford is. I kind of avoid those. Ford's volume is garbage. Even on 20%, it's got a chance for good breakout, but the volume's not very good. I don't want to try to get in and out of that. Right now, there's 50 cents to 6 is available off a bounce play, just off the jump. H&T actually does have a good chance to go to 650. That's good coiling so far. Let's drop from the daily. Oh, most definitely not. I don't know what the rest of this chart looks like, but whereas listed on Coinbase, it's already, cup and handle like a mug. It's already beyond a normal acceptable cup and handle breakout. That's insane. The low is 130 basically. Pivots are 175. Another pivot at 2. So it's pretty much following whole dollar marks. This is what traders are following. 236 right there. That's 270. 3. Yep. It's pretty much following quarters and whole dollar marks. Okay. So those are the trade zones if it hadn't done this. Everything down there between those is potential play for a short going back. But since I'm not on an exchange where I can short, I can only long. That's irrelevant. So we have to work with that. Here's where the volume came in here on the list. Here on the first try for the first breakover. No more interest though. People took gains, faded off, consolidated for, what would he say, August, September, October, November. November it started to right side and gain up the bull. Now, that's pretty nice. That took a lot of volume to break that down. 2 whole solid days. It's got potential for 7. It does. But let's look at it a little more granular. All right, cool. So there's an accumulation right there. 4, obviously, again, about a whole number. Something right in there. Yep, of course, it's 5. Why wouldn't it be? There is a case for a retest at 3, whatever this is. 325, 324. Let's throw it on there. I'd change those colors too because that's not like a serious. It's just I'm marking a last high that it made before it took off. Potential spot to revisit and check, or a potential low. Let's go ahead and keep dropping a little more granular. So there was 2 spots here that both rejected at 385. A couple spots here that were a problem for overhead, 450 more or less. No shock there. Let's go into 1 hour. So this is the good accumulation zone. This was a rejection at 5. Dropped down, accumulated from 5 down to 380. It found what it needed. That's normal volume. It's doing its thing. It could have went either direction, but volume came back in, and it came back into the upside, cleared 1 resistance, 2 resistance, made a new high, and 6, of course, pretty much a whole number. Why wouldn't it be? So right now there's a play between 5 and 6 just for playing a range play on a check for a rebreak. There's potential to go over that, to go up towards a new high. There's a chance to, if you were short, to take a 5 back to a 380 consolidation, 440 breakout range. There's plays all over this. It's just a matter of like what exchange you're on, what you're comfortable with, how much time you have to watch it, how much time you plan on being in the trade. I'd like to be in and out. So let's see, 5 to 6 is $1. What is that, 20%? So if we could get in at 5 and out at 6, that's like 20%. It's not bad. What's the volume like again? 13 million HNT. I might trade HNT right here. In fact, I'm going to watch this for a minute. I'm going to see. Let's go ahead and drop time frames. Anything else more important for me? That one's kind of important. So it might break that and check the 485 before it continues on. 485 is a potential area I want to look at for an overshoot. I'm just going to play this top break right here right now. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, there we go. 480, so that is important. That was the last spot for it rejected off, then just shot through. That's where volume came in, and that's where volume left on the decline. So to me, like, that's the exact pivot point. It's right here and right here based on volume and what happened next. So I'm interested in 480 quite significantly. At 480 based on a lower time frame chart is very imperative for me right now. Might not mean shit in the overall grand scheme of a daily chart or a monthly chart or grand cycles or super cycles, but trying to play momentum on a 5-minute chart, it's very imperative. So let's drop down to the 1 minute. It might not load. gives me some trouble sometimes. I might have to change tickers and come back. Let's go to BTC because BTC is a big daddy. BTC dictates what's going on in the world. BTC shit. Looking good. That's probably a secondary test on a Wyckoff. We're probably about to hit distribution. And if we don't, that's probably why everything was slowing down, because everyone was looking at it just like right here. That was a secondary test. And then it didn't break down. It got another spring. Same thing here. That looked like the overshoot, looked like the secondary, looked like distribution, and then should have been a breakdown. So they've sprung this. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a real sloppy toppy too. I don't know. Let's look at it a little better. Yeah, that's more realistic to like leg 1, leg 2, leg 3. It probably goes to 75 on the higher time charts. This is really setting up. The pullback I think is logical to 36 though, right? Because that's where the accumulation was, and the very stiff breakout. If that one fails too, same thing for here. Wherever's real stiff. So you had one stiff breakout here, second stiff breakout. So probably 25. 25 is a pretty interesting area. Over here, the retest, and then 25 to 50, or 25 to 40, 45. That's the big play, right? And halving's coming up, and everyone's getting excited again. I'm seeing idiots on Instagram like, oh, I think I might get back in. It's time. Like, yeah, well, we appreciate your volume. However, don't become the distribution volume. Hopefully they're the ramping volume for us. So Big Daddy BTC, what's it doing? It's at a spot that I see they're going to fly up to like 52, or maybe come back down and check the box range here at 32 to 38. I'll have to wait and see. If it comes down, it's going to slow the whole market down. If it pops up again, we're going to get crazy ramping, and that's where I'll get into the alts and make 10, 20, 30%. So Big Daddy BTC, PRQ, Pulse, AMP, Fort. I'm almost interested in Fort, but not at 680. Well, let's go look at it. Ooh, spiky and ugly, right? On 6 hours. Basically, you could get wrecked on the pullbacks. And if it follows suit like it has been, that might be a nasty pullback to 1.4. But if it does, we would probably want to trade 1.4 to 1.8. It's not bad. Too spiky for me, though. Too low volume. But it's got space to run to 20. Let's see. It's on trend right now. Well, let's just carry that out. Let's just say it stayed on trend. 25 is the logical. Let's see here. Up to those tops on the left. About 22. As long as it keeps, shooting up and pulling back, it'll probably walk itself up to 22 before it fails or before it finds a real breakover. If it walks itself up there and finds a pullback, it'll pull back to like 11. If it finds a breakover, it'll find probably 35. Let's go on a daily. It's got a nasty little double bottom there going on, doesn't it? Let's say it's kind of from there. It kind of had a weird little double bottom. 31 and probably 46. That's a logical expansion on that on a daily. You can get granular and find a whole lot more trades. But once you go into this uncharted territory, you really have to look at the last, side of like where was it going. Right there is logical too. 36, 37, it's probably 35 realistically if you get down to the tops. Those are just overshoots. So you might be able to go 17 to 35, but I mean, look at the time frame on that. It's gonna have to be a pretty big wicking, a lot of volume coming in. It doesn't have a lot of volume in general. It's probably what's making these. There's probably not a lot of overhead books. It's just like one random guy. It's like, I seen some news, I believe in it, and puts in $100,000 buy and moves it 15 cents on accident. So I don't like to be the guy sitting around on the books being like, I hope some dipshit buys and, ramps the books for me. I'm just curious too. Yep. More or less. That was just something that broke under. It was just kind of in a weird zone. There it is, and the volume. Had that not happened, this probably would have kept fading off to like this exact point and then, went up. There was just some weird news or something back in May that just absolutely dominated interest, and it broke the chart, and then the chart came right back to do what it was going to do. So if you take this entire piece off and just stitch this back over to there, remove this event, whatever this event was, I mean, you look at it, it was already starting to like fade off, and it was starting to turn, it was starting to, change direction. That was just an anomaly event, little black swan. Let's see how much volume that was. Curious what's the max volume it can generate. It was 39 million just on this exchange. $39 million moved it from, and the day before was 3.1 million, moved it a lot. Moved it from 7 cents on the open up to 17 cents. That's a 100% move. And the next day, 25 to 67 cents. Fort's very explosive if the right thing hits and comes in. Let's see like what a normal lower volume would do to it. So $5 million of volume, moved it from 03 to 17. What? No, 11. Excuse me. Let me go back and look at that again. I looked at that incorrectly. Yeah, the low was 9 and went to 17, not 07. Sorry. I don't know why. What is on the right hand side of that close? So 9 to 17 on 136. Almost 100%. Damn. On 3 million. And then on 39 million, it went from 14.6 to 67. Boy, that's significant, isn't it? Let's go look at a more normal pop. So 11.75 to 17. That's still pretty. Yeah, I think we could go from 11 to 17 pretty easy. That's 3 million. What's another decent pop? 13 to 17 again on 5 million. This is where people are taking gains overhead. You can see like the pushbacks on the wicks, they're just getting sold right into. 11 to 14 on 4. So this is where it's consolidating down. It was finding its bottom. And then right in here, boop, that was it. It just got stuffed. It did 5 million and it went from 9 to 12, which was still a good percentage that day for whoever made some gains, but not very much of an expansion candle for that much volume. And then again, 9 to 12 on 3. Now it's starting to go on the other side where it's getting more pushy. So on 6, it went from 12 to 18. So there's less overhead sellers now. So we're starting to get in the expansion side. Fort has a chance to be on my radar if I have like a couple $1,000s left over. I wouldn't make this my main trader, but I would definitely put Fort on a back burner. Where was that at? On the next pullback, if it goes down to like 11 or so, I'm willing to take an 11 to 17 trade. I think it's got a chance of making about 100% gain. So we'll just leave that on a back burner. So Fort's a good back burner trade if there's nothing else going on. Depends on the market goes soon. What else we got? Polls looking pretty choppy. Not too bad. PRQ, I don't know enough about PRQ. The volume's all right. I think I looked at it last night at 14 cents, and I was like, yeah, maybe. Where was it? Basically, yeah, about 6 hours, about 14. So I guess I looked at it around 12 to 14. Because this was last night. Yeah, I looked at it around 12. So actually, I would have done really well had I taken that. Though I was only looking, I think, from 12 to 16 is what I was looking for. But for whatever reason, I didn't like it. So let me go ahead and look and... Oh, that was why. Because the downside was basically back to 9 to 7. And I didn't mark the chart up. That's the problem. I'm having to go off of memory here. So 12 is the breakout point. Consolidation of breakout. 10 is basically... And then same thing, 8 here, a consolidation point to 7. which might not seem like a lot, but if you're down at 8 cents and it goes up 2 cents, it's, you know, it's 25%. It's quite significant. And 4-2, because I looked at what if it failed 3 supports, which would have been last night at 12, 10, whatever it was like 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I didn't feel like going back to 6 cents. So let's look at the high side. Look at the daily. Oh, yeah, it has potential, though. Okay. And I think that's what I looked at was going, I could go up to like 6. Yeah, that was why I was 16 right there. There we go. Let me mark those this time because it was like 1, 2, 3. It was in the consolidation zone. And then there was overreach. I was like, I could probably get to like 25. But that's like topped out. And it was one singular event, so that's probably not realistic. More realistic somewhere in the middle of the other tops, which is 19.29. So probably 20 cents is probably going to be a rejection zone. Would we trade PRQ? Yes. The downside is significant, though, because if it starts to double bottom or do what it's been doing here, where it's like, foop, foop, if it does that again, that's, you know, it's pretty bad. I'd have to watch it real close. I wouldn't go to sleep on this trade by any means. But you got good expansion of candles with the volumes falling, so it's probably getting ready to retract. I don't think it's going to break out. I think it just saw the secondary retest that I was looking at last night, and the secondary retest put it at a spot where it probably can't handle it. So let's go ahead and drop ours. Yeah, there's a lot of overhead wicking. I'm actually really surprised to see that. And this is what I was looking at last night and the other day. I really had expected it to do this. So from here to here, because it hadn't made that breakout yet. Here to here. I didn't like what that looked like. I didn't like that wedge. I didn't like that one overhead push and it, you know, sold off. I was really expecting a return to whatever this is, 7. And I thought 7 to 10 might be a good trade. This is on a ramping volume. Make sure I'm on regular candles. Get on the high conditions. You know, the volume doesn't really match the work. Like I don't know. They're pushing too hard in my opinion. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and drop to the 1 hour. All right, there we go. So now we start into the rejection, like rejection-y, rejection-y, indecision. People are taking gains. It totally could find some support here and cracks over, but I don't think so. Or the percentage isn't good enough for me to risk my money on that trade. The better money for me to risk my money on is back to 16, back to 20, right? That's a good trade because if it's at 16 cents and I get in and it's like, let's try one more time, 20 cents to break over, you know, and I catch 4 cents, that's 25%. Versus trying to take a break over at 20 to 25 is not worth it to me. So let's go ahead and drop this a little more. If this keeps going sideways too and just like starts making a table and it just won't break down, then of course it's a tabletop breakout. But right now there's not enough candles to prove that. And, you know, this would have to basically do this about 50 times, you know, like up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. But I'd have to start seeing the volume to pick up each time, and I'd have to see the overhead supply start to wear out. I don't see that right now. I see plenty of overhead supply, right at the overhead there. And then if it does break out past, you know, 20, there's a lot to 30. After 30, though, there's smooth sailing to like $2. There's nobody there. People would have to be alerted and jump off the sidelines to put an order in, but as far as standing orders, there's nothing there. Well, the scary side below is there's also no support. There's nothing down below. So we'll break this back down to like 2.5 cents. Like, look at that. Going back to 10 cents isn't that hard. Like, if these people got mad and were like, I just need my money back, or I'll take a little bit of a loss, they could tank the books to 7 cents. That's not worth it. So you have to be really fast in and out. That overhead block is a problem. But let's drop down and see where the block stops at. All right. So the block doesn't really start until 19 cents, right? 19 whatever, right? And that's exactly what's blocking the pushover. If they got that, though, the 19.12 up to 20 is a little bit of a block at 19.5. Let's pop that back up. And then the block really stops at 20.50. So you could basically get an overshoot and a rejection, and that rejection, if they couldn't get past that, you know, amount of supply, it would probably take it to 16. So PRQ is a potential from 16 to 20 retest for us. I think another one right there, there's a logical that popped up on the 1 minute chart because now I can see the highs and lows. 14.75, pretty good area. I feel like pretty confident in 14.7. So if it came down to 14.75, broke 16, and started consolidating along that, I'd feel pretty okay with that, because even below that, there's another spot to drop to 13.50. There would be a spot to save me. We're running the chance of another serious support just one below, and another serious support just a little below that. So I wouldn't feel like too bad trading PRQ in those situations with higher volume coming in and not selling off. So let's see, what have we got going on here in the order books and the trade history. So if you look at the trade history from here to here, it's just all buys. They're trying to break, the 20 up. I mean, it's almost pure buys. So they're chipping away at that window. We might come back in a half an hour and be like, oh, look, it's at 22. It might find the volume to push over. But that's more like a hopium situation. I'm not going to hope for that. I'm going to look for something easier to trade, right? So let's just go back. What else were we looking at? Wouldn't give us... What were we on? HNT, and I couldn't get down to the 1 minute chart. I think it was. There we go. Now we're down to the 1 minute chart. So during that time, I was flapping my gums here. It has looked pretty rough. Just kind of faded off. Tried to consolidate. Starting to fade off. 5. We're going to look at 5 and 4.79 for a potential 5% trade. I think is probably our best trader. So we're going to go ahead and put HNT on the list after I said I wouldn't, just because of the way it's setting up. Doesn't mean I'll like it forever, but I do like it for today. And it may come back off our list. So on our watch list, let's go from least to worst. So these are all pushing, possibly pulling back for bounce plays. These are all things that have pushed and are on serious pullback. They're starting to lose their ass. So big time has lost its ass, more or less. So is A-Gold. But have they lost their ass down to a support, and are they ready for a bounce? So that's what we're going to go look at. TIA, right? Good volume, fading off. It's getting to a spot where we looked at it at 902, right? Let's go back and look at our 902s. And while we were bumping our gums, there was a decent bounce there from 950 to 980. Not enough to make money on, but still interesting to watch. Let's see where it fails. Probably 992. It'll probably just give the ghost up there, and it'll probably fade off to the 9s. That's interesting. There's a new area right there. Let's go ahead and put that in. So that's the best thing about more charting, right? Back when we charted this, none of this was here. So it was like, well, that's potentially a spot. It's got 3 taps, and that's the low. That might be it. If volume started coming in, you would go back in the chart and go, oh, look, this is that spot. There was spot 4 took off. There was, spot 4 took off, spot 4 took off. Spot 4 took off, but these lower highs are not on our side right now on the back side of the move. You've got 2 major lower peaks and a lot of downside that failed. I think it betterly goes down to here, and in fact, probably 838. And nothing but red tape too. What kind of order books do we got? There's not much overhead, so I gotta be honest. There's a lot more support than there is overhead, so that might change how we feel about things, right? Let's say it comes down to, I don't know, 950 area, right? What do you got on 950? 955. Yeah, that's that area. Well, there's a lot of congestion there. There's a lot of people willing to buy between 950 and 970. Let's pump this up to 10 cents. Look a little closer. There's less overhead resistance than there is support in this. So TIA still has a shot. All the write-ups on TIA were very, very positive. The problem is this expanded so far so fast. Right? Look at that. I mean, from 2 to 12, it's just too much downside risk, as nice as that chart looks. And anyone that's got the balls and hits it and goes, I believe in 50, like some people are saying, hey, man, more power to you, bro. If you bought it $2, $3, and you want to hold the 50, good for you. I'm day trading, trying to pad my account. I'm not trying to hold for hope. That's not for me. So when I look at a chart like this and I see a major overhead wicking like that after a sick run, I know it's pulling back. How far does it pull back before it continues on? Like, that's all we're doing. That's why it's on a watch list. Where's the logical spot it could pull back? $9. Another spot right there, 750 something or other. That's a pretty serious spot right there too, 492. So do I really want to take a chance on it cracking through all that and then finding support at 492 from 10? Not really. So I'll just keep this on the watch list. It definitely has a potential to go, astronomically high. You're talking about the expansions of, if this is Wave trading, you're talking, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're talking 14 to $16. I'd probably even put it at $16. There's a potential for a six. Depends how deep this goes. If this goes into like 838 and then expands again with volume, 16. It'll 100% from there. I feel like 100% is pretty logical for this layout. But the downside is that if it fails through there, like, it's going to lose 50% of its, from 10 to 5. Like, no thanks. So we'll keep this on a back burner as well. It's not a day trade right now, but it's a potential in and out seas. 9, we'll come back to this. So 950 to 1050. What kind of percentage is that? About $1. Dollar on 954. What does that give us? $1 on 954. Let's see, $1 divided by 954. That's 10%. I mean, that's an awful lot of risk on this chart for 10%, right? I don't know. I think there's a better chart out there. If there's not, we'll come back to it though. But TIA has potential. At least it's marked up now. Who else is our biggest loser? Big Time is the absolute biggest loser. So we're going to look at Big Time for potential bounce, right? Let's get back in there. Ooh. Nasty. But it hasn't faded off as hard as I thought it should have. Okay, so there's a potential that Big Time finds support around 50 cents. 50 to 75, and then tries for 120. There's a possibility that it just consolidates and pushes. Just drop some more time frames. Yeah, I think Big Time has a really good shot. I think 50 probably is a good area. We'll see in the next few hours, because like this rejection, and then this rejection, that might make people be like, fuck this, I'm out. Because there's a lot of supply that's been bought. But let's look at what's on the boards now. Just over here. I can't go very deep. I can only go 1 cent. So down to 45 to 50. Yeah, that's about where support stops, is at 50. So that would be scary. And overhead resistance stops at 76. So 50 to 76 is really our play zone, with a chance to run up to just about 90. So I'd probably take the underside of 87. Yeah, I think I'll probably trade Big Time again later tonight. We'll see. All right, thanks for watching. Nothing to trade just yet or get into, but that's the state of the market for me for right now, and I'll see what I'm going to do. You've seen how I chart it and what I'm looking at. I'm going to drop a little bit further on that on the 1 hour. Lots of overhead wicking. There is support there. No idea why at 58 cents. Let me drop lower. And go get something to eat and let the charts develop. That's always a good thing too. Like, you don't have to trade anything. Just walk away, dude. Like, put your money into real estate and put your money into slower investments, faster investments. This is just one of my accounts. This is an account I'm willing to show. This is one that I have, some holds on and some day trades. What is going on at 58? Oh, I see it now. At the 30-minute mark. So it's this and this. There's some. It's the overshoot of the 60, because this is 63. And realistically, that's what it's doing. It's having problems between 58 and 63. 63 and 64. So basically, that is a good range right there between 58 and 66. I'd say if this one starts holding, I'll probably buy some more 58 and just put on 65 sells. Drop a little lower so there's not a little more information there for me granularly. Yep, right there too, because that's the consolidation right between those two. And it's consolidating on the right. So those are their zones. There's somebody somewhere that has either their bot trading or they have lines just like I do on a chart, and they're feeling really good about they've marked off that high. So there's some congestion going on in here. Down to 50. Is there anything else in here? Yes, there is. Now we're dropping, well, granted, looks a lot better. So 55, same thing. There's that consolidation in there. There's that recheck. It's looking pretty good, actually. I think 50 is probably going to be my hot go zone. I think that's where the trades are really going to start to light up, because you're halfway between the bottom and the top of 99.5. And, Big Time got down to like 10 cents or 7 cents on that one day where it wicked low. But realistically, what did it list at again? I think it was 7 cents. I went to like 35. Something like that. 13 to 35. Yeah, 120 still looking good. What is the list day at? So list day is at 13,369. So 13 cents above 50 is 63. There we go. And then half down from there, 13.99. Yep. So the mid range is really about 58 cents. That's about what it is. Okay. So that's mid range for the chart. Let me just see real quick. Actually, now I want to know. It's 86 divided by 2. Yep. So for me, this is just my own little thing. I'm just off the cuff. So 0.99 cents plus the 13.7 or whatever it was. It's $1.13.2 divided by 2 for the blend. The halfway mark is 56.6. So that makes sense to me because a lot of people that do math like that look at trades are like, where's the midway point? Well, the midway point between the top and the bottom is 56.58. So that's where I'm going to look for trades. 56 to 58 is my interest zone for now. If it breaks past that, then obviously I'll have to go with some other ideas down here. Go and draw back in, and that candle's compressing pretty nice as well. Those were expanding into compression. Wait, am I on Heiken sheets? No, I'm on regular candles. Interesting. Yeah, here we go. Heiken sheets, straight 3 reds, but the last one's getting shallow. The next candle is probably a compression candle, and then it'll go into an indecision, probably a long-legged doji where it'll test up and down, and then it'll either take a choice to run to 50 or it'll take another run for 99. That's a lot of money on the chart right now, actually. Ew. Boy, Big Time has a chance to have some volatility come in pretty soon because it still has 26 million. Yep. It's going into consolidation. Interesting. 58 to 66 is probably still the trade. It's getting worn out too. Okay, well, you'll probably see another trade on Big Time tomorrow. Right now, it looks like it's going to pull back and test that 61 down to the 58. We'll see what happens here in the next couple hours. I'm going to get something to eat, let it develop, because, from there to there is an hour. I'm not trying to sit here for the next hour and watch that. I can go eat and come back. I'm not going to trade it anytime before that. Thanks.